Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for joining in. My name is Jess Sherman. For those of you who don't know me, I don't know where you're watching this, but I am the author of Raising Resilience, and the Resilient Family interviews are back. It's been a while since I've done these, but you can find them on my blog at jesssherman.com under videos. You can also find them on my YouTube channel, and I'll post links to all that. But the goal of these interviews, you guys, is to help you raise a healthy, resilient child. We go beneath conditions and diagnoses and abilities and disabilities and labels, and we work to strengthen the forces that drive the resilience of your children so that they can grow into their best possible selves. And we, of course, try to do that while keeping our own sanity as parents intact as possible. So today I'm interviewing Alison Morris. And Alison is the founder of Full Potential Parenting. She is also the host of several summits. How many summits have you done now, Alison?
This year will be the sixth.
Sixth summits. Then that, let me tell you, is a feat in and of itself. Those are not simple to produce. And Alison and I met just quite recently. She offers stress relief to parents who are struggling, and particularly parents of kids who are high maintenance, who are challenging, who are struggling with their own stress and their own reactive emotions and things like that. And this is driven by your own experience as a mother, right, Alison?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So you have have an adopted child? Is that?
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll get into your story maybe if we have some time, but. Your child was, as I understand it, had some early developmental trauma, attachment issues, physical disabilities, probably lots of labels.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, lots of labels.
Yeah. And what Alison is going to talk to us about, and what she has become an expert at, is emotional freedom technique. So it's called EFT. Sometimes it's called tapping. There's several books out on the market, and I don't know a whole lot about tapping, but I'm really interested in it. I'll let Alison explain what it actually is, but it helps us release our emotions, right, and move forward.
Yeah, so EFT, again, stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques, or tapping. And it's called tapping because you use your fingertips to tap on acupressure points on your face and your torso, and also on your hands in some instances. Mm-hmm. It's been around now for many years. And the exciting thing about it is that there have been so many studies done in the last really 5 years in particular. And so EFT has really kind of matured into an evidence-based practice that has been shown to quickly, safely, and effectively neutralize stress in the body, bring it down, calm us down. So it helps to regulate the autonomic nervous system. It reduces cortisol levels. It changes brainwave states. And recently, there's a paper written specifically actually about food cravings from a woman in Australia in which they did brain scans, and they showed actual changes in the brain after tapping. And now I don't recall specifically how much tapping they did, but it actually was not that much to bring about actual physical changes in the brain.
Okay, so wait, hold up a second, just so I clarify, just so that I get this right in my head. So you're saying that a child who has food cravings for sugar or maybe food aversions, they do this tapping and then they're able to move forward?
Yes, now I just want to clarify that the study was not done on children, it was done on adults.
Okay.
But what in fact often can be the case, and this sounds almost like too good to be true, is that people, especially if they have cravings, after they do the tapping, it's like they almost forget what it is they were even so focused on, like what the craving was all about. So EFT works with phobias. It works with neutralizing really troubling memories of things that have happened. It can work on fears we have about things in the future. And in general, again, it can work just on calming us down when we get overwhelmed and stressed, which is, pretty much every parent today, but particularly kids who have, all these really difficult emotional and behavioral issues. And as we were chatting, one of the primary ways that we can help our children is to adjust their nutritional intake, which means shifting everybody's, diet. They're just what we're feeding them. But our kids have so many issues around that, and we do too. So, right, we've talked about how it's important for the whole family to get on board with a new way of eating. So you can have resistance from every corner of the household, including from yourself, right? Maybe you don't want to give up cheese. Maybe you like raising my hand, right? I'm a Wisconsin girl. You don't want to give up gluten, or you don't like the taste of I don't know, rice pasta or so, there's so many ways that you can apply this. So I know we don't have a whole lot of time. So I think we should just kind of go right into how it works, like a demonstration of the tapping points. And then I know we want to try to touch on how parents can use this to help their kids, because there's ways that they can do that.
Yeah. And before you get into that, I just want to sort of, when I met Alison, where my mind went with this stuff is that so many of our kids are stuck in a vicious cycle, right? And that vicious cycle is a cycle of stress. I mean, what I talk about a lot with raising resilience is that we want to reduce their stressors and improve their stress tolerance. But they are stuck in this, and anxieties and fears for our kids, but also for ourselves, because we know like something needs to change, but we're scared of what that's like. Will we fail? Will it work? Like there's a lot of fear and there's a lot of anxiety on both party levels. So, and this seems like a way that can kind of intercept the vicious cycle.
Yes.
And absolutely. Like move everybody forward. Do I have that right?
I'm trying to remember now if the science has proven this specifically yet, but for sure, one of the theories about how EFT works is that it disrupts signals from our amygdala, right? With the part of their brain that is sending out the fear signals to the rest of their body that sends, that cascade of hormones that, the cortisol, the adrenaline, that your heart starts pumping, you're not thinking straight anymore, right? The blood rushes from your brain and to your extremities, so you can keep yourself alive, right? All of that stress survival physiology. Yeah. So the amygdala, when that kind of is no longer sending out alarm signals, then you're able to take a deep breath. Then you move back into your parasympathetic nervous system, which of course is the part of the nervous system that helps us, among other things, digest our food. So part of the issue for our kids is if they are sort of hyper vigilant, if they're always kind of hyper aroused, or even hypo aroused, right? If they're just lethargic and not engaged and sort of zoning out, they're not even digesting their food very well. Yeah. So even if you're feeding them really great stuff, if they're not absorbing it very well, then you're still not making great progress, right? So we need to calm these nervous systems down, really, for everybody in the family. So so I will just say, in general, it is more effective to tap on specific issues, but with something kind of like stress, sometimes you're so stressed you don't even know like where to start. So I always say that's fine, just start where you are, and I'm not even going to explain what we're going to do. We're just going to go through it, and then we can kind of back into it later. So what we do is you start by using one hand to tap on the side of the hand of the other hand, and you can just follow along.
Any hand?
It does not matter which way you go. If you're right-handed, most people tap with their right hand. So you tap on the side of your left hand, but it makes absolutely no difference. So there's a setup phrase. We repeat this 3 times. So just repeat after me. Well, actually, sorry, let's back up. First, we want to do is to actually check in. And I want you to notice how stressed you are. So if people are listening or listening to this later, just pause for a minute, take a breath, notice how stressed you are when you think about your kids and food, or just your kids and their behavior, your kids and feeling, whether they're ever going to get better, or is this always going to be the same? And like you're stuck, right? That kind of heavy feeling. And then also notice, if you will, where you feel that in your body. Like, do you get kind of a pit in your stomach? Do your shoulders just kind of collapse? You're feeling it kind of in your heart?
Right in the heart.
Right in the heart. Okay. So, people have different reactions. Some people feel it like their jaw starts to get tight or their shoulders. So, they either crumple or they start to rise up towards their ears. All of that's totally common. So just notice that. And then if, just to kind of keep track, it's usually helpful to give yourself a rating on a scale of 0 to 10, where 0 is easy, nothing's bothering you, life is great. 10 is your stress is really high, like you're just barely functioning, right? So, and it doesn't have to be precise. It's just a measure to kind of gauge if the tapping is working, right? Because you always want to be testing to make sure that you're kind of you're getting at the issue. So just note that down somewhere. So then we're going to go back to the side of our hand here, and we just tap along, and you can just do this with me. Everybody watching, just follow along, and we're going to say, even though, and then just,
out loud, even though
I have so much stress about whether my child is ever going to get any better.
Do I insert my own thing?
Yep. Just bear at me. Just follow along.
Say it again.
Okay. Even though I have so much stress about whether my child is ever going to get better.
Even though I have so much stress about whether my child is ever going to get better.
And then we follow with a little affirmation. And the standard one is, I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
Even though I feel the stress in my heart.
Even though I feel the stress in my heart.
Because I am not sure if my child is ever going to change.
Because I'm not sure that my child is ever going to change.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
Even though I'm carrying all the stress in my body.
Even though I'm carrying all this stress in my body.
And in my heart.
And in my heart.
Because I'm so worried about my child.
Because I'm so worried about my child.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
Okay, and then you're going to take one hand, doesn't matter which one. We start on the top of the head, and you just tap right at the crown. And you can use all fingers at the top, all 5 fingers, right? Because your head's pretty solid. And then we say what's called a reminder phrase. And it's just a really short sort of summary of the issue. So we'll say all this stress.
All this stress.
And we go to this eyebrow point, the tip of your eyebrow closest to your nose. Again, you can use either one, either finger. You can tap on both. The stress in my heart.
Stress in my heart.
Then we go to the outside of the eye, just like the outside of that eye socket. There you go. Just gently. Don't have to tap hard. I feel all this stress.
I feel all this stress.
We follow down the eye socket under the eye, the stress in my heart.
The stress in my heart.
We go down to this little notch under your nose, the stress about my child.
The stress about my child.
And down to the under your lip. It's called the chin point, but it's really below your lip. The stress about my child.
The stress about my child.
And the collarbone point is like if you follow your collarbones to the middle and go down and over a bit into that kind of that indent. You feel that?
Yep.
If you want, you can take 5 fingers and just go all the way across. That way you're sure you kind of hit it. Some people also use the flat of their palm, so they make sure you get it. I really like to kind of pound it in there, though.
Oh, good.
Feeling the stress in my heart.
Feeling the stress in my heart.
And then this last one is one that looks kind of odd. It's under your armpit, about where your bra strap would cross for a woman, so about 4 inches. So you can curl one arm over, or you can reach across and go to the other side. The stress in my heart.
The stress in my heart.
Now that's what's considered one round of tapping. And we would just take a big breath in and let that out. And then we sort of just check in. Now that was a sort of a strange round, right? Because we were stopping and starting and explaining things. Mm-hmm. So we could do just one more round, but let me just check in with you. I don't know if you had a number in your head. And you may not be actually stressed about your child. I don't know. So that you may not be the perfect person to be kind of doing the test with, but everybody's got stress.
Yeah, well, let's ask people out there. There are some people watching. I can see.
Yeah.
If you're doing this, what are you tapping about? What are your anxieties about? What is your stress about? Where are you feeling it in your body as it pertains to your child?
What happens is that as people are tapping, a couple things happen. One, they start to calm down. They start to relax. So you can sometimes just feel your body just kind of
That I totally felt.
And often people sigh. I yawn a lot, which is a good sign that you're releasing energy. Now, not everybody does that. So sometimes people don't have those really sort of obvious signs. Um, Often you need to do more than just one round, though, obviously, to notice some differences. But often it is a pretty quick thing, so that even if you did that, maybe when we can go through and do another round for sure.
Well, yeah, and people can rewatch it too, so that they can see the points, right? They can see the different points. Now, these are meridian points, right?
Yes. So
Can you
these
explain that?
correspond. So essentially, it's acupuncture without needles, is what you're doing. So these are points that correspond to meridians in the body, which were discovered by the Chinese thousands of years ago, and actually now they have been discovered. So I've seen like photographs now of meridians. They used to think that they were just energy pathways, like little rivers.
Yeah.
Turns out there's actually a physical structure in our body that's like they're like little spider webs.
Oh, that's
Quite
cool.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And so there are instruments where you can find that these points tend to be near the meridians run closer to the skin. And so the tapping itself is actually a fundamental piece of the protocol. Like the tapping itself serves some function. It's a little unclear what it actually does, but we have a lot of electricity, a lot of energy at the tips of our fingers. And somehow stimulating these points, again, is sending signals to our body just to calm down. And, different points correspond to different meridians. And you don't need to know what all those are.
Yeah.
But you can find that out there if you're like really interested in that. You can find diagrams that show all the corresponding meridians. The key thing, though, is that children learn this very easily. Of course, younger kids take to it more easily than older kids for obvious reasons. If they see you doing this tapping, though, younger kids in particular are going to maybe want to try it. And especially if they see that you're calming down. So you can do this while you're really stressed about something. And
eat your dinner, eat your dinner, eat your dinner.
Yeah. Right. So that you can kind of chill yourself out.
Yeah.
And
which is so key. I want to just interrupt you for a second, because it's so key that we co-regulate with our kids, right? I've become so fascinated by this idea of co-regulation, that our kids are picking up cues from us all the time. Like they're modeling us, but they're also energetically feeling our energy, right? And so if we are stressed and concerned and maxed out, we have to work on calming our nervous systems. And this,
they absolutely pick up on all of that. So you may not even know that you're stressed, and you can't figure out why your child is starting to get agitated and aroused. And it could well be that you're more agitated than you realize. But you can teach kids really easily how to do this too. Now, you're not going to have them like rate themselves, but you could tell them, like, to show you with their hands, like how much something's bothering them. And, it's a really nice thing to do at night if your kids are open to that. Maybe you could do a little thing about like something bad that maybe happened at school, or maybe they're worried about taking a test the next day. And all you have to do is change the words. People get a little worried about the words. And I just want to say, it's really simple. It's, even though I have this problem, and then something that's kind of an affirmation. So with the kid, it could just be, I'm still a really great kid, or I'm going to be okay. And you can use that too as an adult if you want. You could say, I know my mommy still loves me. Even though I drew that I drew on crayons on the wall and everybody's really mad at me, it's all going to be okay.
I think it's important. Like, we want our kids to feel their emotions, right? So it's not like, it doesn't matter kind of thing. How do you move through their emotions?
Yes. So here's the great thing. I'm going to just really briefly, and I know I don't have a ton of time, the 3 A's that I love to share about EFT. One, you get to acknowledge what you're feeling. So for kids, this is huge because it allows them to name their emotions. And again, then they can start to notice where they're feeling things in their bodies too, right? So the idea is that they're not supposed to stay there. They're not to get stuck and stuffed down and pushed away. you get to say what they are, and then it gives us permission to actually feel them. So it's like allowing us to feel what we're feeling.
So
It's
good.
okay, right? We don't have to express it in destructive ways. We can just feel it and then allow it to go through, right? So you've probably heard, emotions are energy in motion, and they really are. They're not meant to sort of stay stuck and stay still. They're just supposed to flow through us and out. And of course, you've also probably heard what you resist persists. When we resist feeling those things, we're pretty much guaranteed they're going to stay with us.
Yeah, and I could see the actual, like, it's one thing to just sort of sit and affirm and like say the things, but the tapping, I think, given what you said about meridians and there's actual pathways that are flowing, right? And it's important for our kids to have those pathways open and flowing, and that way they can feel their emotions.
Yes. And then the last part then is to accept yourself. So you're saying, you know what? I've got these big emotions. Maybe I don't like feeling them, but I'm okay. I'm not my emotions, right? They're just sort of happening inside me. And then they can go. They can go on their way.
Oh, I want to repeat that. I am not my emotions. Right. I love that.
Right. Nor are we our thoughts. Although we get really caught up in our heads and we think we are, but we're much bigger than that.
So repeat the 3 A's again, Alison.
So it's acknowledge, allow, and accept.
And accept. So these are the things we're telling ourselves as we're tapping. Allow, acknowledge, and accept.
Well, it's just sort of a framework for understanding why it's so powerful. And again, kids learning how to name their emotions and giving them kind of an emotional vocabulary is such a gift, because, so many of us who are adults now raising our kids, we weren't given permission to feel our emotions when we were children. We were told, to stop crying, to go to our rooms until we could get control of ourselves, or, whatever the case was. And so we never learned how to just feel what we're feeling. And, so we tend to think they're bad emotions, right? Because we don't like feeling angry and frustrated and stressed out and, all of those. And, those tend to be what we would call lower vibrational feelings. But trying to deny that you're feeling them is not doing yourself any favors. And usually they've got a message for us, right? They're telling you somehow you're kind of out of alignment with something. And so it's a really great opportunity to, just play with some of this a little bit more and get more comfortable, both with kind of an emotional vocabulary, and then again, feeling, sort of returning to our bodies and allowing our bodies to help us understand what's going on. So, and that, again, great gift for our kids.
So good. I have so many things running through my head in terms of like application scenarios, but I want to read some of the comments that are coming in.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you can see them. So Amanda was saying, top stress, feeling it right in my chest and in my stomach. Okay. Feel a big release of emotion. So it sounds like she was tapping when we were tapping. Big release of emotion, got tearful when saying the phrases.
Oh yes. Okay. So I just want to say that. So yes. And tears are another way that we release a lot of energy. So if you start to cry when you tap, and that is a very common thing, right? Because we just hold so much inside. Don't be scared of the tears. Just allow yourself to cry. Just keep tapping. Just allow their and if you can't, keep talking, because sometimes people get so choked, right? They can't speak anymore. That's okay. Just keep tapping. Just keep tapping through the points. And then you'll get to a point where you have that kind of, that kind of shuddering breath. We've all seen our kids do it, and we do it too when we cry. And then you'll kind of come back down.
So awesome.
Yeah.
Jenna is asking, does it matter how long you spend tapping on each spot?
Oh, good point. So usually it's about 6 to 8 taps. But again, not a big deal. So sometimes people get really into something. They're thinking about it and they realize they've been here for a long time. Really forgiving process. It does not much matter. It's nice to move around. And there are other points that, when you can learn. I personally, and for a lot of people, this collarbone point, it's the K27. It's the 27th point on the kidney meridian for me is really powerful. So I sometimes, when I'm just driving in the car, I don't even know what I'm thinking about. I'm just kind of tapping and I'm yawning and yawning. I don't know what I'm releasing, but it's clearly time for something to go. And so that's the other thing about using the words. Don't stress out about it. Just keep it simple. You don't have to change what you say. So it can just be, even though I've got this awful feeling in the pit of my stomach, this feeling in my stomach, this feeling in my stomach, this feeling in my stomach. That's all you have to do. You can keep it that simple.
Even if you don't know what that feeling is, right?
And you can tap on that. Even though I've got this feeling in the pit of my stomach and I have no idea what it's about, but I'm ready to let it go. So
that's so funny you say that, because I've always thought, like, from in my body knows something way before my brain knows it. Like, I will feel something and be like, what is this feeling? Like, what is this? And then like weeks later, it'll all make sense to me.
Now, and I know we're about out of time here. So I just want to say something about, our subconscious minds are really powerful, and they control 90 to 95% of everything that we do every day, which is a little disempowering. But EFT can get in there, and it sort of, it can shift our subconscious beliefs about things. So this is where this can get really powerful, especially around things like food, but really just about anything. But of course, our egos, our subconscious is there to keep us safe. So it always likes the status quo. It likes things to be the way they are. So sometimes we have to tell ourselves in our tapping. So one affirmation you can use is, right here, right now, I'm safe. Or it's safe for me to let this go. Or I give myself permission to release this now. Those are like other affirmations you can use to kind of just, again, reassure your subconscious it's all okay. Right? That's everything's so awesome. Okay. Because sometimes it can get in our way.
Yeah.
Now,
can I read Amanda's comment to you? She says, I really find that her child feeds off of her emotions and stress. Sometimes he makes me realize I'm stressed and showing it before I do.
Absolutely. Yes. Which is, a gift that they give us all the time. And then, then what you can do, you can say, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how stressed I was. You know what? I'm going to do some tapping. You want to do some tapping with me? Now, really briefly with your kids, if your kids want to learn this, that's great. If you can also, if they'll let you, you can use your fingers to tap on your child and go through these little points. Now, to be a little careful, right? Like my daughter's super ticklish. So like this point and this point, get her all giggly. So one thing you can do instead of tapping is just hold your fingers there instead of the tap, or, that's one idea. Or maybe you skip those points if it's arousing them more than calming them down. The other thing you can do, and I don't know that we're going to have time to really talk about this too much, is something called surrogate tapping.
Oh yeah, talk about it. I totally want to hear about this.
You tap on yourself, but on behalf of your child. Now, this is like quantum physics, basically, people. This is like distance healing stuff, which is a little freaky, except that, on a quantum level, we're all connected. So this requires setting an intention, sort of that you have the highest, good of your child in mind. Now, the trick is you're not trying to change your child. You're trying to just offer them some help. So you could say, and you're just you're just kind of making this up. If you happen to know the specifics of what's going on for your kid, then use that. But you could say, even though I'm really scared to go to sleep tonight because I'm afraid of, the test I have in the morning, or so-and-so was mean to me at school today and I'm afraid they're going to do it again tomorrow. Whatever the issue is, right? Just pretend you're your kid. I'm going to be okay, or I'm a really great kid, or my mama loves me. And then you just go through. But your intention is to help your child. Now, if you as a parent are super invested in what's going on with your child, you may have to tap on yourself first so that you neutralize that emotional charge that you have around that issue, right? So that's the trick with surrogate tapping. But people use this all the time to like calm babies crying in a restaurant or on a plane, or, help their grandkid who lives in a different state.
That's brilliant.
It's kind of cool stuff. It sounds, again, a little woo, and it is, but in a very cool way.
So can I just clarify that if you have, are you okay with for time, Alison?
No, I'm totally
you're good. Okay. Yeah. So because this is brilliant. This is great stuff. Let's say you have a child who's like, an explosive child and is always hating kids at school or something like that. Let's just take that scenario.
Okay.
As a mom, of course, I want this to stop, and I want my child to be successful at school and start to make friends and all this stuff. So I'm emotionally invested. So I would do some tapping on myself to say something like, even though my child has big emotions and hits people, he's a good kid, or something like that.
Well, that's actually still more like tapping for your child.
For myself. Well, I have to do it for myself first,
like,
right?
Even though it really stresses me out, or I get so anxious when I hear about the way my child acts out in school, or thinking about how my child can't control his emotions. Do you see? So like bringing it back to your reaction or your response to his behavior.
Okay.
So it's more about you. And then again, you always want to kind of check how revved up are you about that. So like think of a specific instance. Like if you can, think about maybe the last time you got a call from school, or, he got sent home with a little red card, or whatever the situation is. And like, so once again, just a little clarification though, when you're rating how you're feeling, it's always how you're feeling right now in this moment, even if it's a memory of something in the past. So you're not rating like how much it freaked you out at the time. It's always now. So if you feel yourself getting like, oh my God, about that, then you do tapping, check in again, see how you're feeling. And if you're feeling, like maybe you're at a 2 or less, then you might say, okay, like really like connect in your heart to your child, in your mind and your heart. And then you could do the tapping. And you might just be making up what's going on for him. Like, even though I don't, and you might even talk in the first person as though you are your child. That can also be really, really effective. Like, even though, I don't know why I get so mad at school and I feel like such a bad kid, and I know nobody likes me, and that makes me want to cry. And that's when, and then I hit Joey or whatever, I'm going to be okay. You could be grasping at straws. And sometimes people put together these huge setup phrases, and that's okay. Just play with it. Don't worry so much about what you say, because people use that then as a reason not to tap. But if you don't tap, then you don't get the benefits of tapping. So don't let the words get you all screwed up.
I love it because it's so benign. Like it's so like, why not give it a go? Give it a try. I don't mean benign as in it doesn't work. I just mean benign as in like it's not invasive. It's like just a cool thing to experiment with.
Zero side effects, really. I mean, now I will say that. Okay, having said that, do not, I would say, like tackle really big T traumas in your life on your own. Right? People do that, right? So EFT is used for survivors of natural disasters and war veterans and school shootings. And I mean, there were teams of EFT people in Newtown, down in Parkland, Florida, dealing with civil wars in Guatemala and Liberia, all over the place. And, sexual trauma and all sorts of stuff, right? But that's not the kind of thing you want to take on your own, because people can get overwhelmed with their emotional stuff. And there are techniques in tapping for approaching those in really gentle, safe ways so that people aren't re-traumatized. But for our sort of general life stuff, and again, especially, Kat wants to get in on the video, especially stuff with food. So just like talking about food, like maybe you're, even though I like every time I think about making dinner, I can feel my stress level rise because nobody wants to eat the food I'm making, or even though I'm pissed off because I wasted so much money on all that organic produce, and then it all went bad because whatever the thing is, right? You get to deal with whatever's coming up. you feel like swearing because you're really angry about it, then you do, right? So you're not in any way editing what's going on. Now you might do that in a closed, in a bathroom or in your car in front of the rest of the family. But you get to acknowledge what you're going through.
Yeah, I love it. I can see it being also the children who really are hungry and want to eat, but they just can't. They just don't like it. They just don't want to put it in their mouth. There's something
right
there.
And, so you could even do that. You could try to work with your kid if they're up for it, or you could try the surrogate tapping. Like, even though this food looks so different and I don't think I'm going to like it and I don't want to put it in my mouth,
there's fear around it.
I mean, you can be so creative for how it's just, you can, I mean, the tagline for EFT is like, try it on anything.
Yeah.
Because
okay.
you can't.
Yeah. So we could talk for hours. For hours. So let's get a couple of plugs in here for what you're doing. So Alison is hosting the Full Potential Parenting Summit, which is coming up
May 16th.
May 16th. I'm going to post a link here. My gosh, you have a great lineup of people to help. What I like about this summit is that a lot of the summits that I've been involved with and that I've been promoting have to do with like the medical side of what's going on with kids. And you do have some of that in here, but you also have a lot of support for just parenting challenging kids and what that is, right?
Absolutely. So yeah, we've got like 30 folks who are speaking on, it's a really great range of topics and really all devoted to helping parents of children with really big emotional and behavioral issues understand what's going on, have more tools and skills for parenting with some, with maybe more compassion, and because it's tough. Right. It's really tough being around these kids, and they're cranky and they do things that can be really irritating, and they push all our buttons, and it's really hard. And a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah.
And so to help people understand like what's going on with their survival physiology. And then, as you say, some, kind of other biomedical interventions. So we're talking about food. There's some other things on like methylation and epigenetics and sleep and reflex integration. So it's a really nice range of things.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that we had wanted to mention is that the package that is for sale of all the interviews, I think if you buy it early, it's only like $47. So it's a huge deal. And that comes with transcripts as well. Amazing. But there's also a really big bonus package. And one of the bonuses is an online course that is called Stress Relief for Struggling Parents, which is like an introductory course to EFT tapping for parents of these kinds of kids. So that's included in the bonus package. So that in itself is worth more even than you'd pay for all the interviews.
That's your training course, right? That's how you help parents?
Yes.
Is that through that course? Amazing. Julia's super excited. Amanda is super excited. So yeah, wow, this is going to be so great. Can't wait. It is going to be great. I can't wait either. Amazing. Yeah, a busy time for
like every single interview is just, I'm like, oh my God, that was my favorite one. It's really, so they're all so, they're actually all really beautiful, because everybody who's on the summit, right, their hearts are all in this place of trying to help our kids and us as parents reach our full potential. That's really what this is all about, so that we can all have happier, more satisfying, fulfilling lives together.
That's all about, right?
So much about, all these struggles that everybody's going through.
So I'm gonna post the direct link to sign up for the summit, and then people can find out more about you and Full Potential Parenting and tapping, and specifically at, what's your website?
My website is full-potential-parenting.com. Or I have a website which doesn't have the hyphens in it. And I can also, if you're okay with it, I can also post on your page, underline the comments here, a little tapping diagram.
Yes.
But I also have a ton of videos on my website page. I have a YouTube channel as well. And there are also a bunch of videos on my website. So
fantastic.
Lots of other great free tapping resources there as well.
Amazing. And we can continue the conversation here in the comments too about different affirmations we could use, different ideas, different scenarios that we could use this in, and we could just sort of start brainstorming about how we can use this as parents. It's awesome. I'm really excited to try it with my kids.
Well, it's such a great tool, and it's really designed to be a self-help tool. So, working with a practitioner can be great, but it's also something that you can very easily use at home with, really great effect. So
fantastic.
Thank you so much for having me on. I love talking about this.
Clearly, yes. You light up when you talk about it. So clearly it's been a great tool for you as a mom. So thank you, Alison, for your time. And I look forward to hearing more from you.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. And thanks everybody for joining us.
Yeah, thank you all.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.